She never told us she was innocent.
Dominique Dunne was a beautiful rising actress in Hollywood, known for her role in the iconic film Poltergeist. She had a promising career ahead of her, but her life was tragically cut short at the age of 22 when she was murdered by her abusive ex-boyfriend, Thomas Sweeney, following a violent relationship. Despite her growing success in the entertainment industry, Dominique became a victim of domestic violence, a situation that ended in her death in October 1982. Dominique's background. Dominique Ellen Dunne was born on November 23, 1959 in Santa Monica, California. She was the youngest child of Dominique Dunne, a writer, producer, and actor, and Ellen Beatrice Griffin Dunne, a ranching heiress. Dominique came from a prominent family with a rich history in entertainment and social circles. Her father, Dominic, was an influential Hollywood figure who later became known for his work in true crime reporting. Her mother, Ellen, came from a family of Irish and Mexican descent. Her maternal grandfather was Irish-American, and her maternal grandmother was from Sonora, Mexico. Dominique grew up with two older brothers, Alexander, Alex, Dunne, and Griffin Dunne, the latter of whom became a successful actor and producer, known for movies like After Hours, a Martin Scorsese movie that came out in 1985, and An American Werewolf in London, a John Landis movie that came out in 1981. Dominique was also the niece of prominent literary figures John Gregory Dunne and Joan Didion. Her parents divorced when she was 7 years old in 1967, which had a significant impact on her childhood. After the separation, Dominique and her siblings moved between homes in New York, Beverly Hills, and later Los Angeles. Dominique attended several prestigious schools, including Harvard Westlake School in Los Angeles, Taft School in Watertown, Connecticut, and Fountain Valley School in Colorado. Following her high school graduation, Dominique spent a year in Florence, Italy, where she learned Italian and immersed herself in European culture, an experience that deeply influenced her. After returning to the U.S., she moved back to Los Angeles to pursue acting full-time. Dominique's true love. Her passion for acting had always been in evidence to her, and upon her return from her year in Florence, Italy, she enrolled in Milton Katselas' workshop to study acting. She participated in different productions such as West Side Story, The Mousetrap, and My Three Angels, using this experience to prepare for her future roles in Hollywood. At 20, Dominique made her on-screen debut in 1979 with the TV film Diary of a Teenage Hitchhiker, where she played a leading role. Her performance in the movie opened doors for her in television, and she quickly began appearing in guest roles on popular shows at the time. In 1980, at age 21, she landed a recurring role as Erica in the TV drama series Family. Later that same year, Dominique was cast as Paulina Bornstein in the comedy drama series Breaking Away, appearing in 7 episodes from 1980 to 1981.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
These roles showed her talent to the public and established her as an up-and-coming actress. At 22, Dominique continued to build her career, appearing in guest roles in major TV shows like Heart to Heart, Lou Grant, Fame, and Chips in 1981. However, Dominique's breakthrough role came at age 22 in 1982 when she was cast as Dana Freeling, the eldest daughter in the horror film Poltergeist, directed by Tobe Hooper and produced by Steven Spielberg. The film became a massive hit, grossing over $122 million at the box office on an $11 million budget. Dominique's performance caught the attention of the public and positioned her as a rising star in Hollywood. Following the success of Poltergeist, Dominique continued to secure roles. At 22, she guest starred in shows like The Quest and appeared alongside Sam Elliott and Tom Selleck in the 1982 CBS television movie The Shadow Riders, furthering her growing reputation. Dominique was cast at age 22 in the 1983 NBC miniseries V as Robin Maxwell, but tragically she was attacked before filming was completed. Her role was recast with actress Blair Tefkin, though some of Dominique's early footage was still used in the final version, which was released posthumously and dedicated in her memory. Her relationship with John Thomas Sweeney. Dominique Dunne and John Thomas Sweeney met at a party in 1981 when Dominique was 22 years old. Sweeney, who was 26 at the time, was a sous chef at the famous Ma Maison restaurant in Los Angeles. Their relationship started quickly, and Dominique moved in with Sweeney just weeks after they began dating. However, it didn't take long for the relationship to turn abusive. Sweeney's background. John Thomas Sweeney, born in 1956, had gained a reputation as a talented chef, but friends and acquaintances noticed his volatile temperament. His jealousy and possessiveness became publicly apparent early in his relationship with Dominique, which would later lead to a series of violent confrontations. He displayed signs of extreme control and had a history of explosive temper tantrums that often turned physical. The abuse began escalating in 1982. On August 27, 1982, during a heated argument, Sweeney pulled out large chunks of Dominique's hair by the roots. Frightened, Dominique fled to her mother's house, Ellen Dunne, where she stayed for several days. Despite her attempts to distance herself from Sweeney, he persistently came to her mother's house, demanding to see her. Her mother threatened to call the police if he didn't leave. After a few days, Dominique, like many victims of domestic abuse, returned to the relationship after John managed to reach her and manipulate her into coming back. However, not long after, the violence started again. On September 26, 1982, another severe incident occurred. During an argument in their shared home in West Hollywood, Sweeney grabbed Dominique by the throat and began strangling her. A friend staying with them at the time heard choking sounds and rushed into the room. Dominique later told the friend that Sweeney had tried to kill her. Although she pretended to comply with Sweeney's request to go back to bed, she then escaped by climbing out of the bathroom window and fled to her mother's house. This incident marked the end of their relationship. Following this attack, Dominique changed the locks on their home and officially ended the relationship over the phone. Sweeney moved out, but his obsessive behavior persisted. He continued to harass her and attempt reconciliation, creating further tensions. The night of the attack. On October 30th, 1982, Dominique was at her home on Rangeley Avenue in West Hollywood, rehearsing lines with actor David Packer for the upcoming miniseries 5. The two were working in her home when Dominique received a call from her ex-boyfriend, John Thomas Sweeney. Sweeney had the operator interrupt her phone conversation with a friend, double call, and when Dominique realized it was him, she told her friend, "Oh God, it's Sweeney. Let me get him off the phone." Moments later, Sweeney arrived uninvited at her home. David Packer, who remained inside, later recalled hearing loud noises coming from outside. Sweeney and Dominique had stepped onto the porch to talk, but their conversation quickly escalated. Packer heard smacking sounds, followed by 2 screams and a loud thud. Worried for Dominique's safety, Packer called the police, but they informed him that the incident was outside their jurisdiction. This was a common issue at the time, especially in areas where the boundaries between different law enforcement jurisdictions, such as city police and county sheriff's departments, overlapped or were unclear. West Hollywood during that period was under the jurisdiction of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department and not the Los Angeles Police Department, LAPD, which may have been the department Packer initially contacted. In a moment of fear, David Packer also phoned a friend, telling them, "If I'm found dead, John Sweeney is the killer." Packer eventually left the house and went outside to the driveway, where he found John Thomas Sweeney kneeling over Dominique's lifeless body. Sweeney told Packer to call the police. When authorities arrived, Sweeney did not resist arrest. He raised his hands and told the officers, "I killed my girlfriend, and I tried to kill myself." Dominique had been strangled for an estimated 4 to 6 minutes, resulting in severe oxygen deprivation to her brain. She was rushed to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center and placed on life support. Despite efforts to save her, it became clear over the next few days that she would not regain consciousness. Brain scans revealed that she had suffered irreversible brain damage due to the lack of oxygen. After 5 days in a coma, on November 4th, 1982, Dominique's family made the difficult decision to remove her from life support. She passed away later that day, just 19 days away from her 23rd birthday. Her funeral was held on November 6th, 1982, at the Church of the Good Shepherd in Beverly Hills, and she was laid to rest in Westwood Village Memorial Park Cemetery. At the request of her mother, Dominique's organs were donated to save the lives of others, her kidneys and heart. This attack, followed by the legal proceedings that ensued, became one of the most publicized cases involving domestic violence in Hollywood, bringing much-needed attention to the issue. The trial of John Thomas Sweeney. The trial began in August 1983 at the Santa Monica Superior Court, with Judge Burton S. Katz presiding. Sweeney was charged with first-degree murder, and the prosecution, led by Steve Barshop, aimed to prove that the murder was not a crime of passion but a premeditated act, ensuring John Thomas Sweeney would stay behind bars for good. During his opening statement, Barshop paused for over 4 minutes to demonstrate to the jury how long it took for Sweeney to strangle Dominique. This set the stage for the prosecution's argument that Sweeney had enough time to reconsider his actions as he strangled Dominique outside her West Hollywood home on October 30th, 1982. The prosecution presented evidence, including the autopsy results, which revealed that Dominique had been strangled for approximately 4 to 6 minutes, leading to severe oxygen deprivation and brain death. Photos of her injuries were displayed to the court, showing the killing marks around her neck, further illustrating the severity of the assault. One of the most pivotal testimonies came from David Packer, the actor who was with Dominique at her home the night of the attack. Packer recounted how he heard the sounds of an argument, followed by 2 screams and a loud thud. Fearful for his life, Packer attempted to leave the house and later encountered Sweeney, who told him to call the police and admitted, "I killed my girlfriend." Another key witness was Brian Cook, who testified about a prior incident in September 1981 when Sweeney had attempted to strangle Dominique during a fight. Cook described how Dominique ran out of the room, gasping for air, and later told him, "He just tried to kill me." Sweeney's defense, led by Michael Adelson, argued that the murder was a result of heat of passion and was not premeditated. Sweeney himself took the stand, claiming that he and Dominique had agreed to reconcile, but during their conversation outside her house, she changed her mind. This allegedly led to him exploding in a fit of rage, after which he claimed to have blacked out and only regained consciousness with his hands around her neck. He further stated that he attempted to perform CPR on Dominique when he realized she wasn't breathing. Sweeney's defense centered on portraying the attack as an uncontrollable emotional reaction, rather than a deliberate murder. His lawyer requested that the court reduce the charges to voluntary manslaughter due to the lack of premeditation, an argument that would later sway the jury. Throughout the trial, Judge Burton S. Katz made several rulings that became points of contention. One of the most significant was his decision to exclude key testimony from Lillian Pierce.
I was standing up and he would hold me that I couldn't move. And he broke my arm.
Sweeney's former girlfriend. Pierce was prepared to testify that Sweeney had assaulted her on at least 10 separate occasions, 2 of which resulted in her hospitalization. Though she initially began her testimony, Sweeney had an outburst during her account, which led to her being dismissed. and the jury was not permitted to hear the full extent of his past violent behavior. The judge also limited testimony from Dominique's friends and family, who had witnessed signs of Sweeney's abusive behavior during the relationship. These decisions ultimately weakened the prosecution's case, as much of the evidence of Sweeney's violent history was kept from the jury. On September 21, 1983, after 8 days of deliberation, the jury returned a verdict of voluntary manslaughter, not first-degree murder. The jurors believed that while Sweeney had killed Dominique, the prosecution had not proven premeditation beyond a reasonable doubt. The verdict was met with outrage from Dominique's family and the public. The judge himself, Burton S. Katz, expressed dissatisfaction with the outcome, stating that he believed Sweeney was guilty of second-degree murder, which could have carried a 15-year-to-life sentence. Despite the judge's sentiments, Sweeney was sentenced to just 6 years in prison for voluntary manslaughter and an additional 6 months for a separate misdemeanor assault charge. Aftermath and update. After the trial, Dominique Dunne's family, particularly her father, Dominique Dunne, became an outspoken advocate for justice reform, especially in cases of domestic violence. Dominique used his platform as a writer for Vanity Fair to criticize the legal system's handling of the case, arguing that it failed Dominique and other victims of domestic violence. The article is called "A Father's Account of the Trial of His Daughter's Killer." The public, too, responded with outrage. Victims' rights groups like Victims for Victims, founded by actress Teresa Saldana, staged protests, criticizing the ridiculous sentencing of John Thomas Sweeney. After John Thomas Sweeney was convicted of voluntary manslaughter in September 1983, he was sentenced to 6 years in prison, but served only 3 years and 7 months before being released in 1986. Upon his release, Sweeney returned to work as a chef at the Chronicle, a restaurant in Santa Monica. However, Dominique Dunne's family did not let his past actions fade into obscurity. Her mother, Ellen Dunne, and her brother, Griffin Dunne, actively protested outside the restaurant, handing out flyers to customers. The flyers read, "The food you will eat tonight was made by the hands that killed Dominique Dunne." This protest, combined with public outrage, led Sweeney to leave his position at the restaurant. Sweeney eventually changed his name to John Patrick Mora in an effort to escape the notoriety surrounding the case. Dominique's father, Dominique Dunne, hired private investigators to track Sweeney after his release, keeping tabs on him for years. Dominique continued his advocacy for victims' rights and used his work as a crime journalist to highlight injustices, including how his daughter's case was handled. Sweeney reportedly moved away from Southern California, and by the time of Dominique Dunne's death in 2009, the family continued to believe that Dominique did not receive the justice she deserved.